And now as we wait to hear President Obama's pick to replace Justice David Souter on the Supreme Court, could this finally also prove to be a unifying issue for Republicans? Let's ask our experts from both sides. We've got Democratic strategist Tracy Seffel is a former advisor to former DNC Chair Terry McAuliffe and New York Governor David Paterson. And we've got GOP strategist Matt Mackowiak, former communications director for Republican Senator Kay Bailey Hutchinson of Texas. Thank you both for coming on, and I hope I got both your names right.
You did. Hi, Julie.
Sure. Okay, Seffel, right? Just want to make sure. We always go through the names in the commercial breaks to make sure that we don't mess them up. All right, Matt, let me ask you first. Is there further chance here for the GOP to act as a united front? This is something that they need, and it almost seems that they needed a Democratic president to take office in order for them to get it done.
Yeah, you know, I think Republicans have sort of gotten their mojo back on this Guantanamo Bay prisoner issue. And we're looking at three really major domestic political issues over the next 2 or 3 months in Washington. You're going to have a Supreme Court nominee in the next 7 to 10 days who needs to be in place by the time the fall session begins in October. You're also going to have big fights on cap and trade or global warming legislation and a national health care reform bill. So, look, I think Republicans are saying no when they need to, but they're willing to work with the Democratic president and the Democratic Congress where they can. But these are going to be three major fights over the next 2 or 3 months, and they're going to make a big difference in terms of how the midterm elections go in 2010.
Yeah, and depending on who does get nominated, there's a lot of major fights, especially within the Supreme Court, on topics that the GOP obviously is adamantly against, like abortion, stem cell research. But Tracy, do Democrats think that Republicans are planning to slowly walk an inevitable confirmation?
Well, if Republicans are planning to do that, I know that Democrats would find that to be both unwise and extremely presumptuous. The nominee has yet to be named. Perhaps that will come this week. And I think the president has made very clear that he is willing to let the process play out in the way that it has in our previous nomination battles. So the notion of slow walking a nominee whose name has yet to be revealed is a very unwise move for a Republican Party that, in my opinion, is far from unified.
Matt, President Obama has told the Senate leadership that he'd like to seal a confirmation vote by the month-long August recess, which is scheduled to begin August 8th. What's wrong with the president wanting a swift confirmation for his choice of the Supreme Court?
Well, look, Republicans need to have enough time to do vetting and do the type of background investigation in terms of the nominee that's going to be necessary to make sure we get a qualified justice. This is a lifetime appointment. It is a major deal. And let's remember that President Obama has talked about nominating a justice who is, quote, empathetic. Which is not a legal term, which is more of an emotional term. So if he does go outside the judicial monastery and put in place someone like Michigan Governor Jennifer Granholm, she doesn't have a lot of legal experience. It will take more time to look into how she would rule on a number of the most controversial issues facing the country with respect to the Supreme Court. So I think Republicans want enough time to look into the nominee. They've asked for 60 days once the nominee is named, and we will have a fair confirmation process hearing in Washington, I suspect in September, but certainly in time for the October fall session for the Supreme Court.
Tracy, you just said that it's unwise and presumptuous for the GOP to appear to cause a rift before President Obama's nominee is even named. But an aide to one top Republican on the Judiciary Committee actually said, and I'm quoting, that it's awfully presumptuous of the president to call for a swift confirmation process when he hasn't even made a nomination. I mean, talk about putting the cart before the horse, he says. Your reaction?
The president is calling for and is expecting the same type of reasoned and reasonably timed process that previous nominees have experienced. I think that Matt and I agree about the calendar and the strong, if not certainty, the strong likelihood that the justice will be seated well in advance of the October session. This is such a galvanizing moment for both parties, and certainly a minority party, to rally their troops, to raise money, to bring attention to the issues that both sides are passionate about. And so what I think is the really obvious first step is for that nominee to be introduced to the American public.
Matt, what, though, if the Republicans drag their heels here and they are perceived as the party of no? I mean, that is a possibility. This could actually end up biting them in the end. Are you worried about that?
I mean, not really. I mean, at the end of the day, most Republicans realize that the numbers aren't with us on a Supreme Court fight. Unless this is a controversial pick or someone who has views that are way outside the mainstream, this nominee is probably going to be confirmed. We just don't have the votes to do it. And you saw Senator John Kyle of Arizona on Fox News Sunday this morning say that he would only reserve the right to filibuster in an extraordinary circumstance. I think Republicans are looking to reserve the right to filibuster only in an extraordinary circumstance. We are going to ask the nominee what their position is. Do they have a litmus test? Where are they? Are they in the middle in terms of the policy issues facing the country, or are they extreme? If they're extreme, we need to expose that. And if they're in the middle, I suspect that the nominee will be confirmed.
All right, Matt and Tracy, thank you very, very much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Happy Memorial Day.
Happy Memorial Day to you both. Greg.
By the way, as to the comment